Tibetan Translation Culture, Lesson 2. Welcome to Lesson 2 in our series on Tibetan translation culture. In this lesson, we explore how translation helped shape Tibetan civilization, focusing on Buddhist scriptures, as well as medicine, astronomy, calendrical science, divination, literature, and the arts. Most of these works were translated from Sanskrit, Zhangzhung, and classical Chinese into Tibetan. During the era of the Tibetan emperors, known as the Tsenpo period, Tibetan culture underwent a remarkable transformation. Numerous Bön texts, along with works on medicine, calendars, and divination, were translated from the Zhangzhung language. At the same time, the Tibetan script was either created or significantly reformed and simplified, while Tibetan grammar was systematically developed. As Buddhism entered Tibet from India, the translation of Sanskrit scriptures became a major cultural project. Thanks to the efforts of Tibetan translators, many Buddhist texts that later disappeared in India have survived in Tibetan translation. In addition to religious works, texts on medicine, astronomy, literature, and science were also translated, enriching Tibetan intellectual life. The Tibetan royal court recognized the importance of translation from an early stage. Beginning with Emperor Songtsen Gampo, translation offices were established within the government. This work continued under later rulers, especially Emperor Trisong Detsen, who founded Sami Monastery, Tibet's first Buddhist monastery and the country's first major translation institute. At Sami, Tibetan scholars worked closely with learned masters from India and other regions to standardize Buddhist terminology. Their collaboration led to the compilation of important reference works, including Tibetan Sanskrit and Tibetan Chinese dictionaries, which laid the foundation for the systematic translation of Buddhist literature. After the 10th century, Tibet entered a golden age of translation. As Buddhism spread throughout the Tibetan world, two great collections of scriptures gradually emerged. The first was the Kangyur, meaning translation of the word, which contains the teachings of the Buddha. The second was the Tengyur, meaning translation of treatises, which contains commentaries written by great Buddhist masters. Interestingly, the Bön tradition compiled its own Kangyur and Tengyur before the Buddhist versions were formally organized. However, due to limited resources, these collections were not as widely distributed. The development of printing technology further accelerated the spread of knowledge. Printing houses enabled the reproduction, study, and preservation of religious and scholarly works on an unprecedented scale. Before paper became common, Tibetans recorded information on a variety of materials, including leather, animal bones, stone, bronze, ceramics, walls, wood, bamboo, palm leaves, and silk. Tibetan paper appeared around the 7th century, although scholars continue to debate the origins of the paper-making technology. Woodblock printing emerged during the period of political fragmentation that followed the Tibetan Empire. According to current research, the earliest known woodblock prints in the Tibetan cultural sphere were produced by the Tangut people. Through translation, scholarship, and printing, Tibet preserved vast bodies of knowledge and created one of the world's most important traditions of cultural transmission. Thank you for watching and see you in Lesson 3.